in collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
On this week's programme, we get details of 3 upcoming events on the island. Starting tonight, if you're a wine fan, you might like to go down to Pissouri, where there's a very special event that will educate you about winemaking on the island.
In Cyprus, the grape varieties that are indigenous to the island, they produce enough grapes and good maturation without any irrigation, and that's very important.
And next week, you're invited to the presentation of an award to one of our leading investigative journalists.
We are trying also to push government to start doing something as to the different problems we have in Cyprus. Not only the Cyprus problem, but also, this systemic corruption which is within the government.
And finally, music. And Sistema Cyprus, which is comprised of young people from all walks of life and nationalities, have another concert upcoming on the 23rd.
Each word is on a completely different universe because they have different textures, different sounds, different rhythms, and the kids are also playing with that. So, for example, we have one of the pieces from Portugal. It's creating an effect inside of the Amazon River. And slowly, with all the instruments, we are playing protection techniques, that is different sounds with the instruments, trying to imitate the sound of the Amazon.
Pissouri will be taking centre stage tonight with an exhibition putting the spotlight on our wine industry. To find out more, and indeed talk to one of the people who's going to give a talk at that exhibition, it's welcome to the programme once again, after a long absence, to enologist Marcos Zambarta. Marcos, this is something I think that we have fairly often, wine events, but this is a little bit different this time, I think?
It is a little bit different, the event tonight at Pissouri, because a lot of wineries will gather together. So people attending can try many different wines and from different wineries. And also there will be a presentation by myself regarding the wine industry and its development over the years, which will be interesting and quite useful for people that they've been interested in Cypriot wine and wines in general.
Well, it has developed so much over the years, because I remember very well when I came out here in the mid-70s, there were basically 3 or 4 big wineries and hardly any little boutique wineries, and now they are the majority, aren't they?
They are the majority. That is a fact. It has to be said that the 3 big wineries left, which is Soda, Kio, and Loyal, they still produce more wine than all their boutique wineries combined together.
And they have also, we should say, improved the quality of the wine that was available back in the 70s. Some of it was absolutely awful. So you're going to be talking about the development. What would you say are the most important developments over the last, 25 years?
Well, there is a clear direction towards the production of wines in Cyprus from indigenous grape varieties, namely Finisteri, Mavro, Maratestico, Giannouli, Promara, which is a white, Spurtico, another white, Morocanella and Basilissa, both white. Also, not just different grape varieties, but also different styles. We start seeing wines, orange wines from Finisteri, for example. We have some sparkling wines produced that they didn't exist apart from Duc de Nicosia, but it was never really a big seller. And have the red wines now that they are clear, distinctively different wines. So there will be the lighter style, medium style red wines, and the more heavy, rich red wines that they deserve some patience from the consumer in order to have the time to mature. So we see the wine industry being more complete over the years compared to previous years where there were pretty much standard styles of wines. Now we see much more diversity of styles.
And I think I'm right in saying, am I, that because this move has been towards grapes that are more traditional in Cyprus, I always thought that whenever you're travelling you should drink the wines of the region because the grapes that are grown there are suitable for the sort of food and climate that you're likely to encounter while you're there. That's true everywhere, isn't it? So by going with Cypriot varieties, we're actually offering something that isn't trying to compete, let's say, with France or South Africa or even Argentina.
It is true. I agree that there are very good reasons why a country should develop its own grape varieties, both in terms of sustainability. For example, in Cyprus, the grape varieties that are indigenous to the island, they produce enough grapes and at good maturation without any irrigation, and that's very important. To achieve those results with international grape varieties, we need to irrigate tons of water per hectare. So it is a very sustainable turn that the Cypriot wine industry has taken over the past years.
Do you know what caused that sort of change in the approach?
Well, then, it is, you mentioned before that if you produce wines from indigenous grape varieties from Cyprus, you do not compete with other countries when it comes to international grape varieties. So that is one reason. The other reason is it is purely from a cultivation point of view. I mean, there is maybe 20 to 30% more grapes produced from the Cypriot grape varieties compared to the international ones planted on the island using the same cultivation method. So there is the financial factor as well. And also there's a global trend towards more, let's say, obscure grape wines from rare grape varieties because there is really too much Chardonnay out there or too much Cabernet Sauvignon. So the consumer at a global level has shown more interest the past years to wines that have different flavors at the end of the day.
Right, now tell me a little bit as well about the mixing of grape varieties, because we have lots of wines that do that, but there are also varieties that use a single grape, aren't they?
It depends on the style that a winemaker would like or a winery would like to follow. So there's no rule to say that single varietal wines are better or worse than blends. Yeah, if, for example, Bordeaux makes the best wines of the world, which is a highly debatable, of course, fact, then these are usually the red wines are blends of three grape varieties: Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and Merlot. If we go to Burgundy, red wines are made just from Pinot Noir. So what is important is to have a balanced wine, which is good value for money. Now, if it's a single varietal or multi-varietal, it's up to the individual to decide really what's best for him or her.
And I think we've got over the, what could I call it, wine snobbery that was around 20 or 30 years ago. And people are now, in a sense, allowed and respected for drinking what they like and with the food they like.
Yes, they're still snobbery, to be honest with you. It's what I call logical racism, if I'm allowed the word, a strong word. But there are people that they still think that wines from a particular country, all the wines from that country are very good, or all the wines from another country are really bad. We still have this ignorance around, or snobbery. The reality is that consumers are much more open nowadays than before, but still there is the notion that wines from that country or the other country, stereotyping basically, it does still happen, but it's changing. This is the direction.
Let's finish back at the Pissouri Community Amphitheatre, because I think, as well as the wine tastings, is there going to be a demonstration of preparing halloumi and the distillation of zivania, which is our sort of aquavit, isn't it?
Yes. So tonight you'll be able to witness halloumi making and zivania distillation. It doesn't reach the whole experience, of course. So I would really recommend for people to come to Pissouri tonight and enjoy a nice evening.
Right, is there an entrance fee, or is this just the Cyprus Winemakers Association and the Winery Association trying to put their products out there and give people a good time and a bit of an education about wines?
To be honest with you, I do not know if there is an entrance fee. I'm not part of the organizers, so I don't know, but if you look on Facebook of the Pissouri Community Council, I'm sure you'll get the answer.
I'm sure they will, and I hope it'll be very well attended. A pleasure once again catching up with you, Marcos. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much, Rosie.
That is Marcos Zambarta from Zambarta's Wineries, talking there about that event this evening in Pissouri.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
On Monday, the Association for Social Reform, that's called OPEC, is holding a presentation. Well, I wanted to find out more about this social reform because I think regular listeners know that we're in dire need of such things here in Cyprus. So it's a welcome to the programme to the president of OPEC, Theano Galavana. Theano, let's start with that history of OPEC, what it does, and indeed, as I just said, how badly we need it to do it.
Thank you, Rosie, for giving me this opportunity also to promote our event as to awarding Makarios Roussoudis, a great journalist in Cyprus that has been doing a lot of research in different aspects from the different wars we have in Cyprus, researching history, but also researching, the recent past few years. He has done a great job in looking into corruption in Cyprus and how the system works. So he has tons of research, and that's why OPEC and the committee of OPEC decided to give the award to Makarios Roussoudis. We have an award every year that is called Yannos Kranidiotis. So Yannos Kranidiotis was the founder of OPEC. OPEC was established in 1997 in Nicosia, and we aimed in creating a platform for a reflection and dialogue among citizens, aiming at the modernization and improvement of the political, social, and financial challenges of Cyprus. And of course, OPEC has the focus is a lot on European integration, in democracy and freedom of speech, equality. Of course, a lot of work we have done and we keep doing as to Cyprus problem. We do have a counterpart in the North, Global, which is a similar organization like ours, and we do things together too.
You do things together to try and bridge the gap, I presume, bearing in mind the separation of the two sides in Cyprus. What sort of things do you do on a regular basis?
On a regular basis, we always push in two directions through our events. The one is a lot of awareness as to Cyprus problem and how we can solve the problem by promoting different kinds of ideas into two communities, such as our last event were in environment and climate change for both sides, because it doesn't stop where is the green line to protect the environment and so on. So different kind of activities and events and speeches and so on, so that both communities can reflect. And we found also many policies together with the Food Global, like policies that the government can use if they want. We also have, not with Global, but only OPEC, the past 18 months, we had a project called Citizens Forum. It was funded by EU and, of course, OPEC together, and we have more than 80 events online, because it was during COVID also. We have more than 80 events online in different topics, from corruption, from rule of law, to peace, to sustainable energy, and so on. And we bring many professionals in these speeches, but of course there is always a dialogue at the end where citizens, they share their views and so on.
You've got this event coming up on Monday to give journalist Magarios Drouchodis this prize. Now, you mentioned that he dealt quite deeply, not just with the history of Cyprus and so on, but with corruption. And that, I'm sure, is something that's front and foremost for most of your members. How many members do you have?
We have around 2,000 members all over Cyprus, but let's say the active members in the sense of attending events are around 100 people. And they are from different, from different backgrounds, different ages and so on. So we are happy that we have people supporting OPEC. And in this year, we have also started doing some podcasts. It's like podcasts, but because are with camera and people can see us, we call them podcasts. This is the right name. So we start having this also, and it shows that people like it so much. We have around, more than 30,000 views within a week. So I think we are creating a lot of awareness there and pushing citizens, to reflect and think of where are we headed as Cyprus.
And we all need to enter that discussion, I think, don't we? The problem in the past, Theano, has always been that it is, as you just said, the usual suspects. We know all the citizens, or most of them, who are very much pro-solution and want to see that green line wiped away so that we can become whole again. But it's very difficult sometimes, isn't it, to engage the people who are either not sure or who are violently opposed to any change to the status quo.
Exactly, and I think that it's not enough what we do as OPEC, but we are trying also to push governments every time through different announcements and through different, kind of events to start doing something as to the different problems we have in Cyprus. Not only the Cyprus problem, but also, this systemic corruption, which is within the government. and we cannot hide that. It's so obvious that there are so many rules, but all of them are not followed. And we see also how some key people get positions in the government which have conflict of interest. They shouldn't be in these positions, and it's so obvious the reason why they are.
Well, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's very depressing because you can see what's going on. We can all see what's going on, and yet there doesn't seem to be any implementation of the laws that we have to try and prevent it going on. So that's a huge problem, isn't it? But we're going to have to wrap this up. Let's talk about Monday's event, because I think it is open to the public, and you would like people who have perhaps not attended your events before to join you on Monday evening from 7 until 8 p.m. for this presentation of this prize to Magarios Drouchodis. But you've also, I think, got former humanitarian commissioner for the EU giving the prize himself, and that's Christos Stylianidis.
Yes, Christos Stylianidis is coming Cyprus to award Magarios Dresiodis. Let me just tell for those that they are listening to us that the event will be held in Δημοσιογραφική Εστία in Journalist House, which is in Aglanjan, and we are happy to have anyone that is interested to be there and attending this event, let's say.
Well, there we are. That's happening on Monday evening at Journalist House in Nicosia. We've been talking to the president of ORPEC, the Association for Social Reform, Theano Kalavana. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Rosie, and I hope to see everyone on Monday.
This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambis. Listen online to the Cyprus News Digest on YouTube or at cyprusmail.libsyn.com. The latest program is uploaded every Friday, and if you missed one, you can catch up there.
We spoke recently on the programme about the Sistema Cyprus project. That is an organisation that across the world gets together young people, particularly those who are vulnerable, and teaches them the joys of music. They have another upcoming concert. It's called Blending Melodies, and we're joined on this week's programme by the artistic director and conductor of Sistema Cyprus, Santiago Osa Alsate. Santiago, let's start a little bit, if we may, with your history and Sistema, because I think I'm right in saying that back in your home country of Colombia, you too went through a Sistema education.
Yeah, you were saying before, I grew up in El Sistema from my whole town. I'm from Medellin, Colombia. And when I was 11 years old, I started to play trumpet and playing in different orchestras and singing in choirs in a Sistema program in my city. And since I joined for my first rehearsal in the orchestra, I discovered the passion and the love that I have for music. And since that moment, when I was that child sitting in a huge room full of kids playing in the orchestra, I just fell in love with actually what I'm doing right now.
And how did you come to end up in Cyprus? I presume it wasn't a straightforward Colombia to Cyprus. You must have started doing conducting and other musical things nearer to your home in South America.
Yeah, well, I started the process in El Sistema, so I started to have my trumpet lessons, join the orchestras, and slowly, when I was growing, I discovered that I wanted to be a professional musician, and I was studying very hard to do that. So in Colombia, I made my bachelor degree in music and a major in orchestra conducting, and I had the opportunity to mix all the knowledge from an Sistema-inspired program, because we are talking about a social cultural project, but then the traditional normal process of a musician at a university. So in Colombia, I get this knowledge at my university, and after that I moved to Spain. And in Spain, and I was working as a volunteer in Acción por la Música, that is the El Sistema program in Madrid. I was there for 1 year, and during that process in Madrid, I noticed that in Cyprus they were looking for an artist director and a conductor for the program in Cyprus. And when I saw all this information online, I was very excited about Cyprus, about the project, because it wasn't a new project. So I just immediately sit on my computer, start to write my motivation letter, and I send all my information. And actually that's how I end in Cyprus, and it's already 4 years that I am living here in Cyprus, and I am very glad, I'm very happy.
Well, we hope you don't see an advertisement for a job somewhere else and disappear from Cyprus. I know you've been doing a brilliant job with Sistema here on the island. But let's move to this upcoming concert. It's called, I believe, Be Me Blending Melodies, Bridging Cultural Identities. And that's the important part of Sistema, isn't it, across the globe, because it brings together children from all walks of life and all nationalities to engender a love for music in them.
Yeah, well, I am very excited for this concert in particular because for this time we have the opportunity to create a project with different programs in Europe. So we are collaborating with El Sistema Greece and Orchestra de that is El Sistema in Portugal. And with Sistema Cyprus and the other programs, we wanted to create these projects bringing composers from each country, working with musicians and mixing all these cultural identities to create new materials for orchestras. And that's something great because what people will listen on the concert, it's new material, it's new pieces, it's a premiere of new composers, and it has a mix of cultures and countries and rhythms, and it's very wonderful to see how are we going to play pieces from composers from Portugal, but some of the pieces are inspiring music from Colombia, Portugal, or Portugal and Ukraine, and all these things create a new kind of music that in these years all the countries have to start to listen. So the concert on the 23rd, it's having all this new music.
Well, it sounds very exciting. So tell us a little bit more about the individual pieces, if you will, that you're going to be playing. There's 4 or 5 of them, aren't there?
Yeah. Here in Cyprus, we are going to play 6 pieces. 2 pieces from Greece, 1 piece from Cyprus, and another 2 pieces from Portugal. What I can tell you from the pieces, each word is in a completely different universe because they have different textures, different sounds, different rhythms, and the kids are also playing with that. So, for example, we have one of the pieces from Portugal. It's creating an effect inside of the Amazon River. And slowly, with all the instruments, we are playing detection techniques, that is different sounds with the instruments, trying to imitate the sounds of the Amazon. And then we are moving to Ukraine, and we have a very lovely lullaby that is really slow, very calm, that you can imagine like on a winter night. And we are having like this traveling with the pieces. I would like to explain like a bit more of the whole pieces, but I don't know if I have the time to.
Well, I think we can't go into huge detail, and we don't want to spoil it for all the people who are going to come and see your concert.
That's right, yeah. I think we will explain during the concert like all the details of the pieces, but it's a music travel around the world, basically.
And it's certainly stuff that nobody here in Cyprus will have heard before. Now, the admission, I think, is free. Is that right?
Yeah, you can find the ticket in sold-out tickets. You only need to pay like €1 fee for the internet process. Can
people get tickets on the door on the night?
We recommend to book it online.
So they'll be paying €1 to sold out tickets. A shame they're not going to support the orchestra by giving that money to you.
Well, at the day of the concert, we always have our table for donations. We also sell our items from Sistema Cyprus. So everyone who is coming to the concert and really wants to collaborate, you will find our people there on the hall of the theatre with the table of the donation box.
And explaining all about Sistema Cyprus, which I won't go into again since we did it, as I said, not so long ago when we talked to, I believe, your promotions person. But it is happening on the 23rd of June, starting at 7:30 at the Nicosia Municipal Theatre, blending melodies in concert. Cyprus. We've been talking to Sistema Cyprus Artistic Director and Conductor, Santiago Osa Alzate. Santiago, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.